now, 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 now. Let's think about now, 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 now. Get on with it. Come on, get on with it. Come on, get on with it. Come on, get on with it. This is what I say. 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 I don't like you, but I love you. Going above. I don't want you, but I need. And I leave you. I don't like you, but I love you. Going above. I don't want you, but I need. And I leave you. Nah, 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 nah. Oh, I ever need. Nah, nah, nah. Oh, I ever need. Go where you wanna go. Do what you gonna do. Do what you wanna do. Go where you wanna go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome aboard the Soul Train. We got another episode of our favorite Thursday night special. Dum, 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 dum. Thirsty Thursday. And, of course, we have our ragtag team of turf grass sorghum experts. I'm not included in that, and we'll see how this ends up playing out through the course of the night. But first and foremost, I do want to introduce our guest. He is one of my great friends. He is a former, he is a graduate of Penn State from the turf grass program. He is a former golf course superintendent who had the ultimate panic freakout breakdown of all panic freakout breakdowns, aka he just decided he wanted to make money in his life and opted to move into lawn care, which how that worked out for him, I don't know, but he seems to be doing well. We've got nasty Nate Alleman with Barefoot Lawn and Turf right here. How are you, Nate?
I'm good, Matt. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I know it's been
Thanks.
some time in the making, but look, I got my logo there too. Look at that.
We do it up. Listen,
This is
We're the Emmy-winning producer.
yeah. J-Pink is gonna. We do not half-ass anything on here except our personalities. Okay. My wife said, "I thought you fixed your hair." I did fix my hair. It's just falling out, Asami. I got a giant bald spot over here. Nate, what? And before I introduce Ray and Ryan, that everybody knows, because shit, they've been running the show without me these last 3 weeks anyway. But or 4 weeks. But I was going to bring up Nate and I have something in common that there's quite a few people out there now that fall into this category, but something that we did not have to work near and dear for, but we managed to come to the same conclusion anyway. And it had to do with a mutual networking group we were a part of. And what happened to us, Nate?
we got the old-fashioned hook. We are no longer part of that group. The band.
We got the band Hammer. And Nate, why did we get banned from this group?
Are those people listening on the group?
Who cares?
Definitely.
Possibly. I personally, I think it's just our backgrounds, and I think you so more than me are educated in the matter, a ton of experience in turf, and just kind of teaching the basics. And people didn't want to hear about the basics of lawn care and whatnot. So I really think just kind of questioning people's personas, not personas, but knowledge and methods, and just people felt uncomfortable kind of calling people out. And that's just kind of my nature, is when I see a spade, I call a spade. But well, I'm kicked out of the group because of that. Actually, technically not because of that, but I was actually on pretty good behavior towards the end. I got accused for something I did not do. But
this is
much...
what's amazing. Let me simplify this. So Nate had a reputation for calling bullshit, right? And I mean, just not to sugarcoat it, that if Nate had a genuine question about controlling a wild violet or something, and if they were having any success with a certain tank mix, and somebody made the comment that they should balance the soil, Nate would be like, that is a trash comment. I can't believe you would say that. As should anybody in that type of scenario would make a similar kind of remark, right? Especially a hothead turf degree holder, not saying you're one day, I'm just saying in general, right?
I agree.
But okay, so I made a video that I alluded to liquid aeration being a scam by the definition that it is not actually aerifying the soil. And so I got banned from this group, the Professional Lawn Care Applicator group, and no surprise, but they banned me because they said that they were concerned for my mental health, and so they thought it would be best if I was removed from the group. In fact, the moderator of the group said, "We're afraid you have lost it, so we've decided to remove you." Which is just bizarre in and of itself, right?
That's a good, yeah. That's a good way to, embrace that whole mental health concept of, you're sitting on the edge of the ledge, and hey, whatever happens here, man, good luck.
Just push you off.
Say, well, I'm gonna walk over here because you might jump. I don't want to see that happen and have that blood on my hands.
Right. Here's a gun in case you want to shoot yourself on the way down.
Interesting. This is, and where the funny thing is that Nate was in another stream and was showing a little support and all that fun stuff, and he got booted for that because they said that he was running his mouth about the group. And in actuality, there was no discussion of it whatsoever. I think it's at that point, people get it into their heads that when they do dumb things, now they become paranoid that everything they do is dumb, and they just lash out at everyone around them, right? But anyway, I thought that was funny, and Nate and I, we were friends before then. But you want to talk about solidifying brothers in bond there? We made an blood pack of sorts. And so, here we are. We take care of our own kind of sort of deal. And so I thought he would be a great guest for this because he's amongst his own people who would also see comments about balancing the soil that would also call it bullshit. And I'm like, Nate, dude, we got the spot for you. So welcome aboard the Soul Train. Joining us with Nasty Nate tonight, we've got, of course, the near and dear Ryan DeMay and Ray Ito. How are you gentlemen doing? Thank you for carrying the torch this past month.
Well, it was hard trying to pretend like I was from Tennessee. I didn't show any chest hair. I did that practice run with Sean way back when, and that video got deleted, never to be seen again. I think the reason that got deleted was just because how much of a hit it would have been in Eastern Europe with all the girls over there had they seen this big frothy. Look at that. But I digress. It's good to have you back, and looking forward to chatting with somebody with a golf course background. Now, I'm also interested to unpack, and Ray, I'm sure you can help out with this too, as Matt will, of the, I'm not sure if Nate is aware of the proliferation of golf course experts that are among us, right? That may be watching this now or watching it tape delay at a later point, but maybe we'll touch a little bit on that. But Ray, how are you this evening, sir?
Well, I'm just coming off of a week of literally taking names and kicking asses. to put it nicely.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was collections week already. That's good to know. That's good to know.
No, not money wise. Not money wise.
Oh.
No, I'm just being my usual self. Being what one customer affectionately calls me, a shit disturber. And
yeah.
Sounds accurate.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, that should be the whole package right there. Hey, so all right, now for the low price of $10,000 an acre, you can get into what I like to call the shit disturber package. This one will leave no turd unturned. All right. Everything on your lawn is going to get flipped over. I can't even say everything I want to say right now. I was going to go on a roll there. I got to stop. But hey, I will do your marketing pitch for you whenever you're ready. So, all right. Let's get into this here a little bit. So, okay, you're a golf course guy. You're doing the golf course thing. I understand that. Matt understands that. Ray understands that. But can you give people a quick background on just, I know you went to a bunch of different places, different expectations along the way, but, tell people what that daily grind is really like, because a lot of people, as I said, and we'll talk more about this, and hopefully if you don't know about it, you'll be just as shocked as just all of us have been at this proliferation of people who claim to have golf course experience that really don't. But just touch on the day-to-day, the challenges of growing grass on a golf course, and some of the background that you had with your your science and your education from Penn State, how that helped you manage through some tough situations.
Yeah, definitely. So my first job out of high school was a local country club. I was just mowing during the afternoons and whatnot. And at that point, you're like, hey, you got to go to college. What do you want to go to college for? So I like working outdoors, and went to Penn State.
Drinking beers and mowing grass.
Yeah. So a little side story to that. My dad said, hey, man, stay in school as long as you can. And after my fifth and a half year, he's like, hey, man, you got to get out of school. There's no more money left. So I, unfortunately, I took his advice, and I took his advice again. And anyway, I went to Penn State. I had a good time. It was a real good time. A couple summers, 5.5 years, a couple sophomore and senior years. But so I graduated. I got my turf degree. Looking for a job. I found a job in Philadelphia, and my wife actually, girlfriend at the time, was she was going to medical school in Philly. So I got a job at a nice country club place called Golf Mills. It's in King of Preshow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Donna Ross course. Probably in that area, it's a top 10 course in Philadelphia. You have the Marions. I'm sure you guys heard of, and then you have Pine Valley in New Jersey and Baltusrol. So it's right there. And I guess I wasn't prepared to work every single weekend, every single holiday, into the evenings. It was just a lot of work. I mean, and not for a lot of pay, especially as a assistant superintendent, which I don't know if you have to go through you're an intern first, and you're assistant superintendent, and you're a superintendent. But at that time, that was 2005 roughly. Golf courses, it was right before the 2008. So there wasn't a lot of movement in golf. So you had to be assistant for quite some time. But, every day we get up at 5 o'clock. We're on the golf course by 5:30. We're checking the golf course, see if the irrigation ran, and you work until about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So it's a true 12-hour day, half a day. And, every weekend, every holiday, you had to be on the golf course. The constant stress of grass dying was tough to overcome. A lot of my friends were hanging out at the pool on weekends, and I'm on a golf course seeing if grass is going to try to die on me. So,
I'm going to go watch number 8. Oh yeah, I'm doing cannonballs, bruh.
So as my wife was in medicine, trained to become a doctor, she's a cardiologist now, and which is great. At one point, she's like, why are you spending 80 hours a week worrying about grass dying? I'm here working 8 hours a week, saving people per se. She didn't say that. She's pretty modest about how she talks about herself, but she's trying to, she's doing something good into society. And here we're just trying to keep, rich assholes have fast greens and good playing surfaces. So basically that's what we're doing. And, no one's ever happy. You know what I mean? It's
true.
It's just, no one's ever happy. I mean, you can deal with lawn care as well. So it's just after working and moving, my wife went to medical school in Philly. She did her residency at the Cleveland Clinic. I had to move jobs. Then we went to Pittsburgh, moved jobs again. Finally found a course that took me as a superintendent. I was assistant for maybe 7 years. And all I wanted to do is be a superintendent. That's all I ever wanted to do. I finally got a job. I worked for a good guy. He was a family guy, which is very important to me because, he didn't expect me to be there 12 hours a day anymore. So I was able to back that off a little bit, but I was still there every single day. And the demand, the stress, it's tough. So eventually I did, start my own lawn care company, and it grew faster than I thought it would, thanks to Matt. Actually, another side story. One day I called Matt, and I don't know how I got your number or how, and I was like, hey man, I had this idea for a lawn care company. Here's what I want to do. And you're like, nah, here's what you want to do. So I was like, I'm gonna try to do 3 treatments a year, and I'm gonna do all polymer coated urea, and I'm gonna charge the same amount that most companies charge for 6. And anyway, Matt's like, no, you got to get more applications. They got to see you more. The fertilizer might work, but that's the whole grand scheme of weed control. But he spent an hour talking to the phone with me, which was, first time we talked, we spent an hour on the phone. I don't know if you remember that. And after that, if I had any questions, I called Matt. Throughout your career, as other golf course superintendents know, you meet many salesmen, and they help you out when you have problems. And so I started my lawn care company, and I don't miss being a golf course superintendent. One thing I did realize: it's easier to keep POA cut at 1/10 of an inch alive than it is to kill POA selectively at 4 inches. So, when you're dragging a hose and trying to keep POA greens alive, that's so a lot of, I don't know where everybody's from, but up north of the Mason-Dixon, POA is the best green grass turf. You really can't plant; it's just naturally occurring. But nothing rolls better than a POA green, and that's why Oakmont Country Club is known for their greens. They're all POA. But anyway, that's my side note, is that POA is easier to keep alive than it is to kill, selectively speaking. So
it grows in the cracks of sidewalks. So how hard could it be to grow it on the green, right? That's what I was always told.
At 1/10 of an inch when it's 85 degrees outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say any grass at 100,000ths of an inch is super easy to keep alive. You just mow it and you squirt it.
You watch it 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Spray it with fungicide every 5 days, and
Yeah.
The old fashioned is
cart me the water hose over here, please.
This doesn't go to lawn care, but you paint it white, you sleep at night. So that's referring to
that's right. That's right.
That's referring to using Daconil or
Daconil.
Yeah.
What's my annual limit on that? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Go with it. Once a week. Once a week.
Once a week. Now, see, these guys are all. You got to be a real golf course. I'll say this, Ray, back me up on this one. You are not a golf course person on YouTube or otherwise, unless you have stood over a sprayer and dumped a 20-pound case of dry flowable Daconil into a spray rig. Like, that's the real deal right there.
You're not, and or Simazine or else no. My favorite is that how 3336 used to come, Ryan.
How's that?
It used to come in a 2-pound foil bag, and here's how I'd open my 3336: rip the top off of the bag,
take a deep breath.
In the tank. Yeah. Well, I can't smell anything because I'm dressed like Buzz Lightyear. Okay, but open one packet, and then when that goes down, then you rip open another one, and you keep on ripping until you have enough to fill that sprayer. And that's on top of the Daconil. That's on top of the Subdue, and I'll stop there because anything after that, I'm really starting to show my age.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. If you have POA greens, then you've sprayed the hell out of some thiophanate methyl in your day. I guarantee you that. There's no way you're getting through that without some thiophanate methyl. So,
hang on real quick, Ryan.
Go ahead.
But is the worst feeling in the entire world is at the end of the day when you do an irrigation repair, and it's a shitty one. I'm talking about irrigation repairs before we had slip fixes. and you screwed up.
No,
You screwed up 4 or 5 pieces of pipe trying to get it set because it's 8 o'clock and the sun's going down. You finally get it set, and you shouldn't kick it on, but you go ahead and kick it on, and it just absolutely ruptures, and you're just like, screw it. I hate everybody. I hate myself. I'm done with this. And you go home, and then you're there at 5 o'clock in the morning, back out, just grunting through and
I'll
this
give
damn
you
thing put together.
I'll see you and raise this. I can remember 2 mainline leaks at the last course that I worked at. One was a 10-inch mainline. Yeah, 10-inch mainline that erupted middle of the day on like a
Literally
I think it was a
erupted.
Thursday or Friday.
No, it had to be
Literally
a Friday.
erupted.
It's always on a Friday.
No, it was a Thursday. It was a Thursday, and you know what we did, because it was like scorched. I mean, it was like 99, winds blowing like 20 miles an hour. Like it was danger zone, big time. Literally stayed there all night. Like went to Sunbelt at like 4 o'clock. Had them set the Mini X outside for us to pick up with the key hidden in it and everything. Stayed all night and fixed that thing. Turned the irrigation on at like 5 in the morning. I remember that was wild. We bought where did we go? We drove like an hour away to get like a mechanical joint restraint fitting to fix this damn thing. Like it was a big deal. The best one though, Matt, 18-inch main line coming out of our pump house, like down through our driving range. Literally. Now the first one was just leaking. This one, when they built it, they took the belt. These are gasketed fittings, so you push the pipe together and it gaskets and it locks in. Well, the bastards that set it right on top of this massive rock that was left by the last ice age here in Ohio, and it sat there, and for like 6 years it was fine, and then one day overnight, driving in, there's water gushing across the road. I'm thinking, man, that's weird. And then I see pieces of blue irrigation SDR 21 pipe all over the road, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, oh boy. That whole weekend, that was on a Friday. That was the worst weekend of my entire life. Absolutely. So yeah,
Man,
go ahead.
How many times you run into old concrete where they dump the concrete over the fitting and they said, "Oh, this will last," and you got, this is good. Yeah, you're digging all this in here concrete. Like, hang on a second here. What?
I'll raise that one too. So the first course I worked at, mom and pop golf course, right? They had this is no BS. They had the very first fairway irrigation system in Ohio. It's a little mom and pop course where they were not afraid to spend money. So these pipes were literally galvanized pipes, right?
Oh.
And
oh Lord,
the only way to fix these things, this is how they resorted to fixing. This is the first way I learned how to fix an irrigation pipe. They would take this is no crap. I can remember being 14 years old working on the golf course, digging an irrigation head up or an irrigation leak up, and we would take hose clamps, right? And you would take the gummy part of like a tire patch fix, like where you'd pop a flat and fix it. And we would patch that and crank it down with the hose clamp, and that would literally seal the pipe. It was like Flex Seal before Billy Mays and Vince Tornado or whatever that guy's name is. I was literally doing that in like 1998 before it was cool. So, yeah. See, this is the kind of stuff, though. Okay. We're sitting here rapping about all this stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, golf course lawn. I've got a golf course lawn." Let me tell you what. Like, if you haven't been in some shit on the golf course and have watched turf die in front of your eyes, where there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, and you know that there's nothing you can do about it, and still your stomach is sinking, I don't care who the hell you are, what the hell you say you are not anything to do with a golf course. That's me being an elitist and a purist right now. If you think I'm wrong, come fight me.
No, I'm telling you, there's something about the sweat equity that goes into it that if you haven't put it in, then you don't deserve to get to talk about it. I'm elitist like that too. how many times when it's 100 degrees outside, I've already had one heat stroke on the day and had to go fall asleep at lunch in the clubhouse, and then have to go back out and dig another heat stroke length of irrigation pipe to try and find a leak, and I still never find the damn thing, and it just it's amazing. And until you have experienced that, and then you get your check at the end of the week and it's like $400 or whatever, and then they're complaining that you spent too much money on Daconil again, and you're like, well, okay.
Hey, that was always honestly,
cut it.
maybe Nate can probably identify with this. Is anybody ever complain? Like I learned it was late in my golf course career when I learned this, but people would complain, and I would, whether it be about budget or whatever, and I would say, hey, overall, were you happy with your experience on the golf course? Overall, were you happy with the condition of the golf course? Well, yeah, it was just this. We're done. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a lovely to chat with you, and I gotta go.
One thing I learned is that you're only as good as yesterday. They don't remember. You're only as good as yesterday.
Yeah, that's the truth. This is true.
You could have the best greens, run into a drought, and things are still playing well, but things are a little brown. First impressions, everything on a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up. You probably grew up in the time where it was like all of a sudden, the late '90s or early, I guess '90s was all about green. Everything wanted to be green. Then we got into this firm and fast, right? Well, everybody wanted firm and fast without seeing any brown. You can't have firm and fast without any brown out there, right? So it's that point you're playing. Yeah, exactly. You let your Oakmont have 25 guys out there with a hose just hitting spots,
right?
On fairways. Like that's not
the size of a shoebox. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think so. I have a couple buddies that worked at Oakmont. I believe they might have like 12 assistants, and they have 20 some interns a year. Like it's ridiculous how much help they have, and not only they're all educated. Not to say that it matters, but they're all have turf degrees of some sort, whether it's a bachelor, associate degree, or certificate. They all have turf degrees. They have 30 guys with turf degrees there. That's crazy.
I know.
It is, and it's all ambitious guys. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's just the ambition, right? And the pride.
Well, everybody wants to outwork like 80 hours. Let's work 81 hours. Well, I'm going to work 82 hours. And it's just like, man, you guys got to draw a line somewhere. Like, I mean, let's just throw it on the table and see who's bigger, and just we'll leave then. I mean, like, what's going on here?
Hey, Nate, you can't have a prick waving contest if you don't get it up first.
That's right. But
so okay. We'll get into this more in the after show, because man, we're gonna blow your mind for sure on this one of the what do they call that in like the stolen valor, right? When people claim to be like that they were like ex-Navy SEALs or something like that, and then people figure them out like, yes,
they're getting that free.
This is going to be
free
imposters.
Free
Denny's.
Denny. Yep, exactly. They want that free Denny's meal.
Or if it now see only Nate's going to get this, but they go to Eaton Park and probably get a free cookie because they're a military service veteran. See, he's the only person that's going to know saying Eaton Park. Total inside baseball thing with Nate right now. Western PA, right here. Okay, so let's talk about the agronomy side. So you leave the golf course, you leave that side of it, and you talk to Matt. Personally, I'd like to riff a little bit on that idea that you had, that original idea that Matt said was dumb. Not right now, but here in a little bit. But what are some of the things, just basic, you talked about basic agronomy in the beginning. What are some of the things that you took away from the golf course that you translate and are using every day from an agronomic principle side of what you did on the golf course to what you do in your lawn care business?
Well, honestly, I think I learned more about fertilizer and after I was a golf course superintendent than I was during a golf course superintendent. Usually, I didn't know you could go customize fertilizers and whatnot. When I started my business, that's what I started to do. But, polymer coated, I don't know if, there's these one and done products. Knox has one. I think Harrell's has one, where that you have a 6-month polyon coated urea, and they put Dimension and the Celeprint on it. So literally for your rough areas, instead of, fertilizing 3-4 times a year, you throw it one time and done. Now you're paid in 85, it could be $95 a bag now. And you're looking at probably 4 bags an acre to get about 1.5 pounds of N down. But, my thought was to take that polymer coated, ureas and put them into lawn care, because it seems like what companies were charging to treat a lawn just didn't seem like it was enough to cover a really good fertilizer. So that was kind of what I was trying to do, is figure out what companies are charging and how I could be competitive in a way, to for my business. And then I kind of realized, like, if you're going to be different and use a better product, you really don't have to be competitive at all. You can kind of do your own thing, as long as the results are there and whatnot. You don't have to fit into some kind of mold or worry about getting clients. So and that being said, one of the guys I met when I first started my business, he's been cutting lawns for 20 years. Really nice guy. He does a great job. He uses a walker, so he leaves all the stripes and whatnot. He said to me, and I take this and I tell everybody this that's new in business: if everybody's signing on, you're not charging enough. You need to have people say, no, I'm not going to pay this. This is not a little bit on my budget. So that being said, it was a good selling point with my background, having a turf degree from Penn State, having a golf course experience, is that when I told them, like, hey, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, it really wasn't a hard sell per se, especially early on. But as business increased, I realized my pricing probably wasn't as high as it should be, and I increased it, and so far, knock on wood, so good. I mean, it's been great. But again, the background, I don't get questioned on certain things. I hear people back when I was a member, before I got banned from the group, is hearing all these all these people would complain about people complaining about them, and I'm questioning their actions and methods and what they're using, and they're burning my lawn, this and that. And I've honestly never got questioned on that. So I don't know if I'm lucky or I'm just using a better product and better results, and you kind of, another thing to fall back on, you get what you pay for, right? I mean, it's like that in life. I mean, once in a while you get a good deal, but for the most part, you get what you pay for.
I'll kind of chime in.
No free lunch.
No, not at all.
No such
thing
as a free lunch. And yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Because I'm listening to this, and no, I don't get questioned, and I tell people what I do is actually not for everyone. You have to want a certain thing before we'll talk business. And if you don't want that, you don't expect it, then what I do is not for you. Good day, and I wish you the best of luck.
It's nice to say no.
It's fun saying no.
I just put it out there. No, I just put it out there, and it's and when I spell it out, I tell people I'm not desperate for business. That's why I'm not all over the internet. That's why I'm not all over the phone book. I'm not all over the paper. In
Ray,
other words,
you're showing your age mentioning phone book
The
and newspaper
paper.
advertising.
yeah. Well,
Ray,
I am
act
showing
like-
my
Ma Bell.
No, yeah. Well, that forgive me for being old, Matt. Okay, I'm old. I'm an old man. I mean, I can
you're
admit
aging,
it.
Ray. You're not old yet. You're aging.
You're just challenged with youth.
But seriously, I then tell people I am not desperate for work, and that's just how it is. So it's a rather interesting experience when I tell people, when they're inquiring about what I do and my services, I tell people I terminate customers.
I was gonna say if you ever wanted to see smoke pour out of Ray's ear holes, the only thing you would have to do is be a customer and ask, "Are you sure it's supposed to look like this?" 1 week after an herbicide application, and I guarantee you, if his ears aren't rolling smoke, his head may pop right off his neck, and it just runs off the other direction. Because I know that just would not play with Ray ever at all, never.
No, it wouldn't, because I'd tell them, for one thing, this is the first time in the lawn's life that it's actually being treated. And secondly, I am going to have to fry it or burn it a little in order to actually get this done. Because, yeah, Matt knows me for, what is that? Burn and return.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
Burn and return.
Gotta send it sometimes.
Yeah, Matt, you have to tell Nate, what that comes from.
All right. So back in the day, and this is actually when I was on the golf course, and I had to make all these decisions, right? Because there was one investor, and then there was me, and then I had a bunch of young kids, and we were building a short course and a driving range. I've never done this before, right? And so as I get into it, I'm trying to cram as much into my brain as I possibly can, and I came across a site called Lawn Site and started reading there a little bit, and then it was interesting because not long after that, 2008 happened, everything crashed, left there, went to work at True Green. You want to talk about being really overwhelmed, trying to make that transition from golf to lawn care, and this is what the positive I'll say about going to work at True Green was, it is so fast paced, and there's no moment to stop and think about what you're doing. You have to be pre-programmed at the front end of the day if you're going to complete your day in 12 hours, right? Otherwise, you're going to be working 14, 16 hours, and you do this 6 days a week, right? So I was used to the work aspect of it, but normally I could stop and think about what I was going to do next. And at True Green, you don't have that opportunity. So as you're driving to the property, you have to recall from recollection of when you were there last time, what condition it was in, and have a pretty good game plan in place of what you're going to do when you get there. Even like if you've got an idea, you're going to pull your backpack, like you're thinking to yourself, okay, I got a gallon and a half of MCPA in there, and I'm going to go ahead, hit the front yard first, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the hose. And that way, when I finish, I'm back at the truck, and then I'll finish off, I'll fill up my second tank, and then go hit the rest, or whatever it is, your game plan. You're going through this in your head. And it was weird for me because it's just such a different style of grass care, right? And I wouldn't even call it turf management at that point. It's just you're managing all these different weird things, and you're managing them for speed. And so I would read a lot of what Ray would write about to try and figure out, if I incorporate some of these things like multiple modes of action at one time, is that going to save me from having to make 3 passes across the yard? Is it going to save me from having to pull 2 different backpacks after I already blanket spray the yard, right? And so it was fun to read that and read what he was doing. And of course, this is back in the MSMA days too, so then I got to really put it into practice of, like, well, I got a tank full of MSMA. What the hell am I going to dump in here next? Let's go ahead and give it a couple glugs of 3-way and hope it doesn't turn into a solid gelatinous goo, and, hopefully I've got enough water in there that it doesn't do that, and get out there and go light it up, and everything turns just holy hell of an orange. And, you just keep faith, and you pretend like you know what you're doing to the customer. I'm like, well, I saw this guy on the internet, and he told me it's going to work. Or I saw him tell someone else it's going to work because I didn't have the balls to ask him myself. But it's going to be good. And and 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, all of a sudden it does. It looks like a brand new yard, and you're like, holy hell, it worked. And so you get that little bit of confidence, and you see Ray doing something else that's absolutely insane against the grain, and you do it all over again until, you have the confidence to start making these decisions yourself, right? And so look at this mother right here. Look at this guy.
That's
to me.
that's not live. He
Oh,
stepped
yeah,
up
yeah.
Oh, now he's back. Hold on. Don't tell him I put that up
I'm
there.
back.
So and
I like it.
it's kind of funny, you know. I guess kind of how we had have the same relationship. Nate, you know, that's kind of how me and Ray had a relationship as well too. You know, just bouncing ideas and all that fun stuff. But it was funny. Your idea, I loved you. In my opinion, you were bringing a very recovering superintendent approach to lawn care, where you're like, I'm going to do 3 applications, but I'm going to bill for 6, right? Because I'm going to run like combinations. And you're like, how am I going to maximize my dollar with the least amount of effort? Because you had been operating under a system where you maximize your effort and they minimize your dollar, right? And so you were like, I'm going to do this the opposite of the way I've been doing it for the last 10, 15 years or whatever. And so
I still think that can work, though. I think that can work. Not the 3 for 6, not the 3 for 6, not the 3 for 6. But okay, you go ahead. You go first. You go first. Let me hear you, so I can give it back to you.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to talk.
You're up. You're up. You're up.
Okay.
You're up.
My point is that as you, especially on the front end of lawn care relationships, of client provider relationships, they want to see you there. Even if you're not doing anything and you just go walk the property and you never put a damn thing on it and you hang a bill, like that's totally okay. That is totally okay. They just want to see you there. And so, yes, you can probably get it done agronomically and have pretty damn good looking yards with the way fertilizer technology it is to do it in 3 applications over a 6-month, 7th-month growing season. But the people just want to see you there. And especially, that first year, you kind of ride a wave until you get the lawn seeded and make sure, from that point forward, after you seed it, right, that's where you can do all your repair work and kill all your Dallas grass, which we have to deal with. I know you don't, Ryan, but that's a big one here is that, these lawns will get eaten up with 15, 20% Dallas grass. And as it goes dormant, it leaves these giant bare spots in the yard, and then the Dallas grass comes out of dormancy and it just looks like total hell. And so, yeah, you're fertilizing it throughout that course of the year, but you're not really making it look like your property until you kill the Dallas grass out, you get some new seed in, it looks nice and uniform and clean. And then people will lessen up on you. If they see you less frequently, then they're not worried about it. But as long as they've got seed heads that grow 2 feet, 4 days after they mow, they want to see you out there doing something with it. You get out there and you squirt it with something and it turns orange, it never dies. And then finally by the fall, when they're starting to think in the back of their head, like, damn it, are they going to get rid of this or what? You go out there and you spray it with glyphosate and it kills it deader than a doornail. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then a week later, you're showing up and you're putting down seed. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then the next spring, when it just flushes out and looks absolutely phenomenal, they could care less about seeing you anymore. But that first year, that rapport, that relationship between the client and the provider, they just want to see you and know you're there addressing these concerns.
See, I don't disagree with you there, and I think that's kind of how you build it, right? Is that you have sort of those first year customers that you're trying to basically get their lawn, Ray? How do we want to say this? Uneffed, unthrusted, right?
Untrusted, exactly.
Yes, because there's some major thrustage on a lot of these lawns. Let's be honest, okay? So you do that with them, but then you tell them, okay, hey, you know what? Every year beyond this, True Green wouldn't drop your price. My competitor wouldn't drop their price. They would charge you the same thing. Let's say it's, $600, $700 for all these apps. Guess what? I'll knock 20% off and I'll do just as good of a job keeping it this way, on a maintenance schedule, basically, in whatever that is, if that's year 2, if that's year 3, if that's year 4, whatever. The point is to fade away, back off, still be there. I'll come out whenever you need me to come out. If there's something wrong, you pick up the phone, you call me, but I'm going to be here 4 times a year, 3 fertilizer treatments, 1 weed control in the middle of the summer, just to kind of take a look, make sure we didn't miss any crabgrass with our Dimension app, clean things up, make sure we're looking good and we're on point. But I also think too that this is not necessarily for your high end folks. This might be starter home people. This might be second tier neighborhoods, right? Like, 30, 40-year-old homes, something like that maybe don't have the same expectations as a new build might have. So I think in the right market, and this is a very market driven thing of where you could be successful with this, and I think, I don't know Nate's city all that well, but it is sort of like this exurb of Pittsburgh. It's a little further removed, and so there is that opportunity there where people are like, "Hey, I've got money, but I don't have like big city money, and maybe I want to get into something like that. Of I can see my cost declining, but I see my service and my lawn still looking banging, right? In year 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and you maintain that relationship. So I don't know, just a different way to think about it. Of not everybody. And the other thing too that I like about it is, let's say that you build up this customer matrix of, hey, we're going to try and grow first years by whatever percent. Now all your year 2, 3, 4 people, the people that are on that part of the program, right, that are only down to 4 apps instead of 6, let's just say, you just increase your throughput on those people by 33%. So you can take on more of those customers. So maybe even if you pick those up midstream where their lawn is already unthrusted, you can put them in that program and still be making bank. So just a thought.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I think you talked about this. You got to manage expectations, right? I mean, I call this the evolution of lawn care. Especially when I first started out, a lawn was kind of crappy. You get a good balanced fertilizer on there. Things are growing. You take care of the weeds. Things thicken up. You aerate, overseed. It looks great. All of a sudden, a couple of years go by. Same thing. Well, what's this over here? Well, that's poa-triv. You had that since the beginning. Or this is tall fescue. It looks like crabgrass. No, it's tall fescue. It's been there since the beginning. They want more. Like you can only take turf grass so far, right? There's limitations to how green a plant will be based on whatever you give it. I mean, there's limitations. Matt talks about this. You get the NPK right, and some of the biostimulants you can take it a little bit further, but that's it. I mean, you max it out in certain things. So I'm like, well, we can. What do you call it? Burn and return, or how do you refer that to? It's kill it off and whatever. I was like, hey, I can come in here. We can round it all up. We can get some turf-type tall fescue in here, and people are like, what's that? Well, I mean, turf-type tall fescue has been around for some time, but it's more cold tolerant than it used to be, and it comes down to managing expectations, right? I mean, that's just as a golf course superintendent, it's the same thing. You got to manage expectations. I mean, it's fun. And I saw Ty P said every lawn care company pretty much uses the same products. And Matt can attest to this for me. I started
False.
Yeah, exactly. So I personally get everything custom blended. Everything goes out to I tried to buy from Matt early on. We had some shipping issues because I couldn't get into my storage unit. Anyway, I dealt with Ferdy, I dealt with Turf Care Supply, and I get analysis. A couple times I ran it by Matt. Here's what I would do, and I try to go more balanced, right? I try to do maintenance rates of P and K. I think it goes a long way into having a healthy lawn. You may still the soil test would show you deficiencies, but I think as you do a more balanced a 4 to 1 to 2 NPK, I mean, you're going to hide a lot of those deficiencies, right? And I know you guys many times debate these soil tests, but the eye test is obviously number one, right? I mean, it has to pass the eye test before you go to the soil test, in my opinion. So, but just like I said, going back to the polymer, I still use the polymer coated ureas. I just do more balanced. I try to get some biosolids in there as a kind of way to build some carb in the soil, some more organics in there. I guess you can't call them organics, but you know what I'm saying. Or I use a calcium, calcium carbonate in there. It's just a way to get rid of the crushed rock filler. I mean, I think I know that you post the video on there, but I did a video on my my website where I took a scoop of a 1300 and I separated the urea from the crushed rock filler, and it's actually sickening.
Yeah, there's 10 granules of urea and 100 granules of crushed limestone, and you're just like, wow, this is there's not a lot of actual fertilizer here.
No, you're paying for filler. So paying not to go on a tangent like that. Sorry.
No, you're good. And a lot of times when when you are in a situation where it feels like all the lawn care companies are doing the same thing and using the same products, that does exist. I'm not going to say that doesn't exist. However, there is that is not true as a blanket statement, because there are a shitload of applicators out there that do all kinds of different things. Like Nate has had great success using, and he's not using XCU, right? A 30 or 45 day release. He's getting duration 90, duration 120 blended into things, for a long, slow, gradual, none of the up and down. It's you're going for maintenance, and having the P and K there to support the N rates that he's also applying, and being sticklers about his P and K rates, and making sure that if he does have extra space in the bag, that gets utilized with something that is going to have agronomic value, and not just stone that is crushed up and thrown in there for weight in the bag, which is really what filler is, right? It is just stone that is ground up and screened and put into the bag to take up space and weight. And so there are people out there that do that. It may not be the majority, but there are people out there that do that. Nate is one of them, and that's probably why he's on the show, and not trying to convince somebody that phosphite can replace the potassium in their program, kind of sort of deal.
I appreciate that. It's one thing about getting custom blended fertilizers too is that you have a minimum. I think Turf Care Supplies, I think, might be 6 ton, and other places are 9 ton. It seems to get higher and higher every year, which is fine now. That's where I'm at. But it only costs a couple dollars more a bag to get either lime, like actual lime in a bag, or a biosolid. I don't know if you guys ever talked about biosolids and what's actually in them. I know Matt and I had the conversation, and some of these are supposed to be better than others. I don't know the actual facts, but but it definitely gives some agronomic benefit to using those versus just rock, right? I mean, you've ever seen someone that accidentally burned their own yard? You can actually dig in there and you see there's 1,500 rocks in the little spot where the grass is burned out. So it's easy to tell what happened there. So, I tell my clients, and I hope, I don't know if other people do this as well, is that, I charge more money, but I tell my clients is like, listen, that more money that I'm charging you is actually going into your yard. It's not going to my pocket, it's going to your yard. So I think that it's a good selling point. And, at the end of the day, it's the results, right? The results matter. And so far I'm able to produce those. And exactly.
Yeah, you're getting the results.
Nick, you're in his area. You're not pulling a high pH soil test there, so that's why you could put together a blend that uses calcium carbonate in it. But I think we talked about calcium carbonate in blends, didn't we? Nate?
Yeah. You talk about how you can have some volatilization. And last year that might have happened. I'm not sure, but is there? I reached out to one of the salesmen from Ferdy. They're out there in Connecticut. Actually, I think they're all over the place, Connecticut, Canada. And he said no. You said yes. I'm in the middle. So.
I think I can find a study that if you combine calcium carbonate with urea, it will increase the volatilization rate of urea, if I'm recalling that correctly.
But my question is, if it's polymer coated, is it still going to have the same kind of volatilization rate?
My speculation is no. If you have lime combined with polycoat urea and the lime has had a chance to dissipate in the soil and then the urea starts releasing from the polycoat, chances are that's going to achieve that delay between lime and nitrogen that I normally recommend. Because if we're talking about polycoat, I normally don't expect polycoat to start releasing until 15 to 30 days after actual application, generally. And that to me is when I normally tell people, if you got to throw down lime, throw it down now and then hold your fertilizer for at least a month. So you should be okay with your type of a blend where you have actual lime and a polycoat in the same bag. You should be all right.
Ammonia volatilization from lime, urea, ammonium nitrate suspensions before and after application. Results indicate substantial losses of ammonia may occur where lime UAN suspensions are being prepared only if lime contains calcium oxide. After soil application, ammonia losses can occur in the absence of calcium oxide if the lime UAN is allowed to remain on the soil surface. That's interesting. And then here's another one with ammonium sulfate. Losses from ammonium sulfate were greater when soils contain greater than 2% calcium carbonate. So I don't know. I could dig through here and send some of these to you, or maybe we would just put it up on the show a little later.
You would have to. Well, you could. You're probably better at the math. Like what I was a 22, 5, 10. 70% polymer coated, duration 90. So I mean, there wasn't that much calcium filler in the bag. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
to get to. I mean,
6%.
but at the end of the day, it's better than in crush rock filler. So
yes.
I saw Andy Kelly ask a question about my fungicide program, and to be honest with you, I don't do many fungicide applications. I know we're in Pittsburgh. It's been 85 degrees. Anywhere from 80 85 degrees, a lot of humidity. I really think a balanced approach helps push. Helps grow out, helps prevent. I think more potassium is definitely more beneficial to. You're not going to prevent fungus per se, but you're going to help strengthen cell walls, help push root growth, and help the turf recover. So, for fungicides, I like Exemplar. Most people aren't going to pay that kind of money for a product that lasts, 28 days guaranteed for dollar spot. But, it's a great product. And I tell other people in lawn care, if it costs this much, just charge accordingly. I mean, don't try to get cheap on things that work really well. Cause any kind of DMI, you're going to probably get 14 days in a lawn care, maybe 21, but Exemplar is guaranteed 28. And I've done it on fairways on golf courses, and I got 35, which is just incredible for a product, in my opinion, especially dollar spot, which as a golf course superintendent, that's what you're getting at after a rain and a little bit of humidity. You're getting dollar spot pressure really, really hard. So, anyway, I just want to answer that question.
That was a great answer. There's another one. What are your guys' favorite summer granular ferts for a balanced maintenance program? I wish I could give a one-size-fits-all approach. I can't. I won't. Because there are so many different variabilities: soil structure, how much rainfall do you get, do you irrigate, what's your soil pH, what does your soil test look like? those are kind of the things that if you're going to make a recommendation, that's always an ideal starting point of where you should start. But if you just had to grab one off the shelf, the old 1648, the absolute cheapest 1648 you can find, it's guaranteed to turn things green. Set it for G for green and L for lush.
You love that one.
Depending on
you love that one.
Now, what are your thoughts on the potassium source, though? Do you think it's worth the extra cost to go SOP versus MOP? I mean, as a ex-fertilizer blender and other guys that use the fertilizers, what I've been doing personally is I put about 10% each bag, and I to save a couple of costs, I've been doing 50-50, 50% SOP, 50% MOP. Do you think that's worth
Actually,
the savings?
here's my thought on it. If you are in a region where you do not have contamination by chlorides, present in the background, small amounts of chlorides can be beneficial in terms of disease resistance. So I'm not saying to go ahead and salt out your turf. I am saying that you are able to apply moderate amounts of potassium chloride and not have detrimental effect. And the first place that I heard of this from is from they were doing work on wheat, and wheat gets take-all disease, by the way, guys.
Mhm.
And one of the mitigating agronomic factors is if you are in a region or area that doesn't get chlorides from, say, the ocean, potassium chloride added to the fertilizer program will serve to help mitigate take-all. It's not a cure for it, but it
Yeah.
helps reduce it. So I'd have no problems with it in your case. Of course, me where I'm at, I am on a chloride ban. I don't want any chlorides because I have so many parts per million sodium chloride in my soil, whether I want it or not.
Nate, Johnny Fescue said, do you have a target material cost per acre that you try and keep things at?
Yeah, so I mean, this is gonna go. People are gonna think I'm crazy, but I try to say around $2.50 per thousand on average. Now I'm making 5 applications as part of my program. It's basically every time. So what I've been doing is more of a 4 to 1 to 2 NPK ratio in the spring. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back there. I ran a 15, 6, 15 with dimension this spring twice. Then I went to a 22, 5, 10 with 120 day, I think 50 or 60% 120 day polymer urea. The rest is like a 90 day and a 60 day. And then I'm running right now as a 0-0-10 with SOP. And it's a calcitic lime. There's that less than 1% humic acid on it, but and then the fall I'll probably run more of a in the fall I'll run more of a probably like a 25, 5, 10, little less balanced, but I figured I put a lot of K down. I put roughly 2.5 pounds of K down in a growing season, which is probably a lot more than most people do. That being said, my target cost per thousand is roughly $250, so $120 an acre is my product cost, and that includes weed control as well. So, I like I said, you kind of get what you pay for. The custom blends you pay a little bit more for because you have to get them registered through the state, especially if you do like a combo with Dimension or Celoprin or Mount Lambda, bifenthrin, whatever it may be. A lot of these you can do, and in my opinion, I know some people will spread a granular fertilizer and then spray their insecticide. To me, it's worth the cost to just put them all together. I mean, sometimes you don't get the best control. I know, Matt, you talk about this spraying Dimension or pre-emergent or Barricade or Dimension is much more efficient than it is putting on a granular. But the fact that I'm doing 2 granular split applications, I kind of cover my bases there. So, I guess the short answer is $120 an acre. It's a long explanation for that, but roughly $2.50 per 1,000 square feet.
So I'll kind of go back to the potassium topic, and it's interesting. I was looking up all the commodities earlier today, and boy, man, nobody look up fertilizer commodities right now because you are going to want to doo-doo the bed. Because boy, it is not looking good. And I was looking at pretty far out futures contracts too, even in off seasons like February and stuff, and they are still pretty sky high. So good luck going into next year. Oh man, I do not miss the stress of that. It is. I just feel so bad. Yeah.
So I'm guessing that
muriate of potash is up over 100% year over year right now, and I mean it's just like golly. And Nutrient bought another mine and shut it down. like similar to what they did up in Canada, and they've got a business to run, and they need muriate of potash to be profitable, and I get it, and sometimes you got to do that to be profitable. But unfortunately, that also supply and demand drives up the cost of potash as well. I
Some
saw
OPEC
Compass
shit right
Mineral.
there.
Compass Mineral unpacked a vein of lithium, or one of the materials mined used to produce lithium batteries, and I know that's the diversion of force going into that is going to put a real tight hamper on the SOP market too. I was reading about that as well. So potash prices already, are brutal, and it looks like going into next year it's going to be even more brutal than what you had been used to. Plus the cost of urea. Urea spot prices in the Gulf right now are at $440 a ton. So, the
Wow.
absolute cheapest you're going to be able to touch it when the New Orleans spot price is at 440 is probably 650 a ton would be the bare minimum you could buy it, and that's if you're buying like bulk. If you're getting it bagged, you can add onto that, and that's buying it from somebody that's only going to be marketing it up maybe 20%. If you've got that kind of relationship and that kind of volume, that you're only getting your sales guy 20% margin. And let me tell you, if your sales guy's marketing it up 20%, he ain't making money on it. He's making pennies on it, so they're doing you a giant favor there. So it's anyway, commodities are wrecked. Beyond that, back to the potash conversation. And I think it also kind of ties into what you were saying about granular pre-emergent. So many of the decisions I made treating lawns have to do with how much of a head case I am. I've got all these psychosomatic things that go on in my brain, like granular pre-emergent, right? I just, the one time I went out with granular pre-emergent, I had a mental breakdown and ended up spraying my second round because psychologically I just couldn't handle the aesthetic of a granular pre-emergent, especially when I would dump a bag into my hopper and like half the bag is yellow and the other half is like a burnt brown or something, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is not granular pre-emergent, and I don't feel comfortable spreading this, and I'm not convinced I'm going to get those kind of results. Kind of the same thing as you start moving into potash. I've got this thing about moving into the summer months and managing salt index levels, right? Because already I'm trying to grow tall fescue in 90 plus degree weather for 90 days, 100 days a year, and I don't want to apply any greater salt index than I need to during that time frame, because salting out a lawn when it's 95 degrees outside is never a good thing. It takes a long time to correct, and it can be the end of your season on that lawn, right? Because you salt it out, it may not recover until fall, and you're pretty much, you go treat the lawn, and they're like, well, it's all brown, turn it green. And like, well, no, but I still got a billable app I need to get on you, so I'm going to come treat it. And then you have to sleep at night, and it gets all in my head. So I feel safer, I sleep better at night, spending the extra money on the sulfate of potash and not having midnight terror teeth grinding sessions, afraid that I salted out a yard, basically is kind of my logic behind that. Any kind of competitive advantage I can give the grass, any kind of stress mitigation I can give the grass, and sometimes that's just mitigating the salt index of the products you apply, right?
I agree with that. I mean, same thing here is like it's totally different, right? I'm in a different sector than lawn care, right? And I don't look at it as much of a commodity, right? So, for me, the same thing as Matt is like I'm looking to eliminate and or mitigate any risk I can, and to me, that's an easy one to that's a low hanging fruit. Like, okay, hey, SOP, MOP, that's an easy decision, right? So I do a lot of custom blends too, and it really, here in Central Ohio, a lot of times what we find is you do need that balanced approach, right? So it's closer to a 1-1-1 or like a 3-1-2 or something like that. Like it's not the typical 4-1-2 that is that hopefully unicorn soil that you find that you can just sit there and maintain. I agree with you though, Nate. Like, it's a great way to mask, right? I mean, it's a great way to go out there and you can cover up a lot of that stuff. And I don't mean that in a way of like you're doing something wrong. I just mean it's like, hey, if I'm looking to do this the most economical way possible, be competitive, this is a very simple and agronomically sound way to do it. So, on the subject of spreading, the pre-emergence or anything that's soil applied, I look at that too as okay. A good example, Nate. You talked about the one and dones. So let me think. Which manufacturer? Lebanon has a really nice one and done. I like a little bit more than the Polycoat. It's a Methex, so it really doesn't kick in. It's a methylene urea. It doesn't really kick in till summertime, so you really get going. So if you do your, the back end of your fall, the previous year rye, hell yeah. If you do the back end of your fall right, you should ride that wave clear up into on cool season here in the Midwest until, mid-May, right? Until spring flush and things start seeding out, and then it's going to take a big crap on you. Well, that's when that Methex will kick in as soil temperatures increase. It's a great product, but if you look at it, right, so we're just talking about, not just necessarily pounds on the ground, but the coverage that you're going to get. Jay Pink, I'm going to share this with you. You can throw this up. Here it comes to you in the chat. Boom. There it is. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Oops, hold on. Okay.
Particles per square
No.
inch.
Not. No, don't put up the pissing pic. Don't do that. Don't. No, that's the wrong thing. Right?
I thought you were
Control
taking
V
the
the
picture. I was already like,
Gosh.
good Lord.
Not the yellow discipline. You can't do that. Okay.
Hold up.
Anyhow.
Hold on.
Hold up. Who's throwing 300 SGN out? Where do you get that at?
So okay, so this is an experiment.
It's easy to find down south. In fact, it's hard to find 200 or 180 where I live. It is.
Oh, really?
It's very difficult to find where I live. Yeah.
Hey,
Look at that.
not to interrupt. Quick question though, while you're figuring this out. How big can urea get per se, Matt? I mean, how big can you get? Like a 400? I mean, is that possible, or is there limitations?
Yeah. So the first Yara Amidas truck that showed up in the United States showed up between a 300 and 500 SGN. There was marbles in there. Marbles.
Can you polycoat that then?
Steel of urea.
No, you could not polycoat it because then it would be a 600 SGN and it would literally be a half inch in diameter. And the horrible thing about it was, you would bring it in
1 decade.
So first off, they would charge you an arm and a leg to put it in bulk bags instead of just taking it as raw bulk, right? This was the most hygroscopic fertilizer in the entire world. This makes calcium nitrate or potassium nitrate or ammonium nitrate look like a joke, right? Because you could take a bulk bag and set it in a covered area, a garage, a bin, or whatever, and you could melt out. You would literally dissolve, due to the humidity in the air, 1,000 pounds in days. 1,000 pounds of urea sulfate, or urea ammonium sulfate, the 4000, you could dissolve 1,000 pounds in days just from atmospheric moisture. It was unbelievable how terrible that material was. Now I believe they've got all that fixed, and they're not bringing that in on their vessels anymore. And I think that coating specialist down in Florida developed a special coating to help with the hygroscopicity of that product to cut that down, because it was literally melting into oblivion.
How you enunciated all these syllables in that word,
because it's so difficult to say. Hygroscopicity, is that right? Hygroscopicity.
That is correct. That is correct, man.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
And here's what happens.
I have the language of origin.
You have hygroscopic materials. What I find manufacturers doing is they end up coating the prill or the granule with massive amounts of oil and wax. In fact, I had to kind of chew out the people at Simplot a little bit because they were giving me 2600 that had so much wax on it that it was actually plugging my filters. And for those of you that don't know what 2600 is, 2600 is ammonium nitrate sulfate. But I told them, hey, this is a nice product, but you gotta cut down on the wax because I'm not making candles. I'm not making candles, okay?
But if you do want some candle wax on the erogenous zones, Ray could do that in the shit kicker package. Right, so
I can scrape
totally
the bottom
separate.
of my tank and make it happen.
All right, so go back to that graphic real quick because I want to highlight this real quick.
Does the audience know what SGN means? I'm sorry, I don't interrupt, but I jumped in there like SGN. Yeah, I just want to.
The audience knows.
Go over size guide number real quick, just for fun.
Yeah,
30 seconds or less.
SGN is just the particle size, and you'll see it in different ways. So you have like a standard measurement, which is like millimeter, right? And so basically, SGN is hundreds of. So a 300 SGN is a 3 millimeter average particle size amongst your product, right? So 180 SGN would be an average of 1.8 millimeter particle size across, if you did a particle size distribution test of all the fertilizer prills in your bag.
Great explanation. All right. So the lower the SGN, the smaller the product. Lower the SGN, the smaller the product. So real quick for the folks at home, typically on putting greens that are mowed at 100 thousandths of an inch, just like Nate was talking about at the top of the show, you might see an SGN somewhere between 80 and no more than 100. For fairway height, that's going to be somewhere between 1/4 and let's just say 9/16 of an inch. You might see something that is somewhere between 125 and 180 SGN. For rough or high cut turf, as we see it in lawn care, golf course rough, sports turf, things like that, anywhere from 180 up to about 240, right? So those are your ranges if you break them all down very basically. Okay. You think anybody with a golf course lawn knows that? Probably not, but we do. So F them. Back to the show. All right. So here, this is a really cool thing. This is a talk that Brad Jakubowski, who is a PhD candidate over at Penn State, actually. We are
Penn State.
Yeah, there we go.
Golly.
Okay, I teased you up on
that.
Here.
I'm surprised Ohio State guy would say that, though. No, I appreciate that.
Oh, hey, you know what? The other 364 days of the year, I'm all for you guys, but the one day, forget about it. Okay,
I appreciate it.
Y'all are mentally ill.
Go win some games.
I told you, I want you to take your shirt off.
Go win some games.
Top. Take your shirt off and sing Rocky Top. God
bless it. I was born on Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills.
All right. We're not at kneeling and it's not at night, and you haven't had a whole bottle of Fireball to warm up, so you're not there yet. All right. So look and count at how many prills on the bottom here. So the bottom of this graph here is the 300 SGN. So you got like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 prills, right, in a square foot. And then on our, this is going to be, 180 SGN on the other one. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like triple the coverage, maybe quadruple the coverage. Okay. And the whole point of this is, like, Nate, you were talking about lower SG, or excuse me, the one and done products, $5 more a bag, right? $5. So $20 an acre, right? Because we're 4 bags at the acre. So $20 more, I can have 4 times at least the amount of coverage or better coverage than I do over a standard prilled product. So in those cases, I would always tell folks, hey, absolutely, if you can find it and if you can get it, go for the lower SGN product, because you're going to have even that much more efficacy if it's a soil applied product specifically for, let's just say, pre-emergent in this case. So that's my feeling always when I'm talking to folks or thinking about programs of my own is if there's one thing I'm going to make sure I get, hey, $20 an acre versus a callback to come back and spray out crabgrass, which who the hell wants to do that and try and control crabgrass in the middle of summer when it's past the 4-tiller stage, right? Let's go ahead and do it and try it. So
We got a
just
solution.
little
We got a
things like
solution
that
for
can
that.
make a difference. Yeah,
Sorry, I don't
what do you got?
interrupt. You
No,
ever
go
guys
ahead.
ever use pile? You guys ever use pile driver?
I just sprayed
Can
pile
someone-
driver today. Pile driver is
All right.
you say pile driver. Pile driver is that's an Ohio State invention. That's Dr. Dave Gardner at Ohio State. Pile driver is the half rate of Pilex and the half rate of drive. So 1.5 fluid ounces per acre of Pilex combined with what would that be? 0.74 fluid ounces, I think, of drive accelerate with MSO, and you get pile driver, and you can take out crabgrass. Boom.
Just in one application. See, I actually do full rate of both, and I don't, do I have to? I don't know, but it works very well. So
if some is good,
Hey.
more is gooder.
more is
well-
more. Yes, and I mean, good is better.
You see, when doing tank
Better.
mixes, I don't deliberately, cut products way below their label rate. I don't. I just send it, as is, and grass gets a little yellow. My how unfortunate, it'll grow back.
Gets a little
Because,
white in that aspect. Gets a little white.
But then, hey, live
Yeah,
with
but-
it. Deal with it.
You can seriously clean some stuff up real quick though with pile driver, man. I'll tell you what, it is. People that are not using it, like drive on its own, is pretty much worthless.
Meh.
You need 2 applications
Pretty
at
much.
least. At least 2
Yeah.
applications. Yes.
With
Drive
the back to this particle per square inch graph here, the one thing that I think would highlight this too would be if you're, and this is where you start moving into real funky stuff, is homogeneous versus blended fertilizer.
Oh,
And
100%.
the prill distribution of the small ingredients, right? Because you're talking about 300 SGN or 400 SGN material, and you've got a 400 SGN chunk of iron sucrate in there. And so you're spreading a 2% iron sucrate or a 2% iron oxide, which is already worthless, right? Literally, go look at the studies; they're worthless. But you spread it, and over a square foot, you have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 prills in a square foot, and you're supposed to get an even distribution of iron release across that. And that is a tough thing to accomplish, right? But you talk about getting into a real weird debate. That's you're moving into never-ending argument territory there.
Isn't this that whole micronutrients video that you did about the how do I want to say this, right? Like the bells and whistles that get put into fertilizer labeling that don't necessarily help the end user to achieve their goals, right? So
yes. So if you spread an ammonium sulfate with 16% iron oxide, right? And then directly next to it, you spread just a 1600 with ammonium sulfate, and you compare the two side by side, how much of a visual impact is the one with 16% iron going to have? Almost negligible if you can notice anything at all. Now, imagine you took a 16% iron EDTA and you sprayed it over that area while you spread your ammonium sulfate at the same rate that you were applying that iron oxide. You would have such extreme iron toxicity. The grass wouldn't just turn black, it would evaporate. Like it would go away into outer space. It would go back into the ground and grow into the dirt and disappear. And everyone was like, I don't understand.
Wait,
I put down.
Terrapreta? Wait,
It's
where?
too perfect. It's too perfect for the grass to disappear on the Terrapreta. Okay.
Get beamed up.
It
It did get beamed up, Scotty.
it's just one of those. It's on the bag. It makes you feel good. You feel like you're accomplishing something. But if you ran it right next to ammonium sulfate, you would see that you're spending money on nothing to accomplish nothing. And
Just,
and versus
just
if you sprayed it, you realize that what you're doing is so incredibly toxic that you're like, oh my god, I should have never have done that. I literally made grass disappear overnight, kind of sort of deal. So yes,
Did-
it does
All right.
kind of go back into that, and it makes people feel good, and it ties into
Jay
your
Pink-
statement of the 4 reasons why you buy something. Right?
Oh yeah, we'll go over that with. I think Nate will really appreciate that. I'll throw that up here in a minute. Real quick, last thing from Brad Jakubowski at Penn State. Go Nate Lions.
We are.
All that stuff. Yeah, we are. Yeah, all that stuff. I'm good with it. It's fine. Seriously, I have no hate, no animosity, other than that one day a year. So okay, throw this up. So this is interesting. So this is the data, right? When they break it down by SGN and by pounds of product per acre, right? So he's just looking here at the 4-pound rate, which is about 175 pounds of the acre, right? So look at the distribution of particles per square inch when we go from, let's just say, 150, okay, which is a normal fairway size fert, right? As far as SGN goes, down to 215. So again, it's about 3x that we're getting, 3x better coverage that we're getting with that product. So, you look at that at $20 an acre, right? $5 a bag on the breakdown. Generally speaking, let's just say it's 8, even if it's $32 an acre. To me, it's worth it. I don't know what you all say. Ray, what would you say to this? And again, we're in. You can kind of extrapolate on your situation and maybe what a cool season situation might look like when you see this.
Well, when I see this, this would be why I tell everybody that that asks me, if you are not putting down what's called greens grade or SGN 80 to 100 fertilizer, you are wasting your time and your money. And by the way, Nate, this chart here demonstrates why almost 100% of my applications are liquid. And do you know why they're liquid?
I'm sorry. You said do I spray liquid?
Yeah, you don't know. Do you know why my applications are all liquid?
Well, I guess it directly applies to the plant, so I mean it's more efficient.
No.
Unfortunately, though,
Height of
go ahead.
cut. Height of cut, Nate. Height of cut.
Oh,
It's
you guys
not
are
about-
everything at a quarter inch.
Okay, it's warm season cut. Okay,
It's warm season
I
cut.
see.
Yeah, fairway height or lower. Fairway
Okay,
height or
that makes-
lower. And so what happens when, even if somebody can get like a 125 or 150 SGN product on, say, something that's about a half-inch height of cut, this can cause what I call this effect that I call the green Dalmatian effect. And what the green Dalmatian effect is, that's what happens when fertilizer granules land far apart and the grass only gets green from the NPK in those spots that the granules landed. The rest of the lawn just looks like a green Dalmatian.
Ray's all liquid approach. I love it. It is literally the ball gag of turf grass management, because you can tell the turf to shut up and do what you want, right? I'm going to shut you up and I'll make you do what I want. It's some masochist stuff right there that Ray's into.
And hang on, let me clarify some things. If there are some people on here that hear this, that if and are having a complete nervous breakdown, if you're maintaining 4-inch tall fescue right now, and you're running 250, 300 SGN fertilizer, you're okay. It's 4-inch tall fescue. You're going to be fine. If you've got Kentucky bluegrass at 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, you probably want to start considering pretty quickly to Lushy. I didn't even see your earlier super chat until just a minute ago, and I asked, "What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Would you stop?" I will take my shirt off and sing Rocky Top for money because I've reached that point in my life. Okay, that's where I'm at right now. So don't make me do that.
It'll be on the YouTube Facebook page tomorrow if you do that.
I don't mind. So anyway, if you've got 4-inch tall grass, and if you're one of those people that, Ray, earmuffs, mute your ears. If you're one of those people that has 4-inch tall Bermuda grass, it's perfectly okay to put down your 300 SGN Agfert. You're gonna be fine.
I'll say this is that again, this is a question I had for Nate. Actually, is like, you mentioned fungicides. That was one of the questions I had. Is like, where do you find? And this is an interesting thought here, just because, not because I had it, but more of because of what's out there in the marketplace today. Where do you think you can draw the line at $250 a square foot, let's just say, because clearly that's what's working, right? Like you're getting great results.
Holy shit.
I love that. I love it. Draw the line and say, hey, for this amount of money, this is really good turf, and whatever, 8-9 times out of 10 through a summer, normal summer here in southwestern Pennsylvania, this is going to be a good lawn if I use these products and follow this program. What is that line that folks, at home that are watching this can say that, hey, do I really need to spray this or that? Or do I really need to spread this or that? Because you're not doing a lot of the stuff that's being marketed right now on YouTube and on the internet and other places, I don't think. And it sounds like it's a pretty, I don't mean to sound, to make it a pejorative that you have a basic program, but I think it's following basic agronomy. So what is that for you that you've learned over those years of being in lawn care that's like, hey, like, this is enough. This is okay, to where I know I'm going to have a really good result?
Well, I think the first thing is greener isn't always healthier, right? I mean, I can tell.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I can tell. When I have a client, so most of my clients, I get the neighbor. That's kind of how I grow my business. Like most people that, their lawn looks good. Hey, give me a quote. And then all of a sudden you'll see a neighbor over there, and this thing is like, it's mid-July, and this thing is greener than green. I'm like, I can tell that guy's throwing Milorganite down at like 20 pounds per thousand. Like, it's just, you can just tell. And it's just, so greener isn't always mean healthier, I guess is the best way of putting that. So, more isn't better either as well. So, I guess, I didn't know much about the whole YouTube thing of lawn care until I met Matt. And then I kind of did watch some videos, and Matt would send me some videos and satire and say, look at this guy. We'd laugh about it and say, yeah, you don't want to do that. But that being said, I think, NPK is the most important part in any program. You can't do anything else until you get the NPK right. And in your soil acidity, I think. I know you guys dig into soil tests and look at everything, but again, I go back to the eye test as well. I mean, I've had fairways that show terrible results on a soil test, but they perform well. So, did I correct those issues? Not really. I just kind of kept going what I was doing, and they made it through the season. So, I mean, I guess theoretically they could get a couple degrees better if I were to correct some NPK issues, but for the most part, certain inputs was enough to get it healthy. I guess going back a step, golf is different in the fact that we're talking about playability, right? We're not talking about aesthetics. Lawn care is aesthetics. Golf is playability. So, when it comes to, I talked about this earlier, firm and fast is a big thing that was brought up in probably like late 90s, early 2000s. Hey, we want balls to bounce off a fairway and roll 30, 40 yards. Even, we went to roll in the rough 30, 40 yards, which isn't attainable, but we want greens to bounce and roll off, and we want all this stuff until you give them firm and fast greens, and then all of a sudden, hey, that's a terrible pin location. You can't put that pin there. Well, no, that's a good pin location. The greens are just rolling 12 right now. The greens are rolling 12, and you don't know how to putt a green rolling 12 right now. So don't blame that on. Don't put that on me.
You had a 85 footer for per birdie, dude. Like that. Yeah, your make percentage on that is below single digits.
Yeah. So, like I said, golf and lawn care are two different animals, and but like, I mean, going back to it, it's just, I think it's keep it simple. NPK. I'm a big proponent of slow release fertilizers or control release. You talk about methylated urea. That's a great product.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I'm kind of stuck on the polymer coated. I mean, some of the people listen to this might not know what those are, but like if you go to Lesco or I'm sorry, Site One, a lot of those products will have like a 20 or 30% polymer coated, or they call it Poly Plus. You'll see on the bag it'll say 30% Poly
XCU.
Plus. So XCU, whatever it may be, but I'd rather do 60, 70% XCU or polymer coated than the 30%. That's just, I'd like to shift everything that way. So, but I don't know if I answered your question. I tend to.
No. It was good. I mean,
Wicked sick.
Ray, this is like the flip side of this, and this is what I really want to ask is, Ray, if you had to simplify, like if somebody gave you a budget of $2.50, like if this is some like HGTV shit, and you got to get it down to $2.50 a square foot for the season, what are you banking on? Like, what are your products? What are your practices? And you can look at this from, again, Nate's in a cool season scenario, so like obviously his coming lower than you in a 12-month climate, but from a warm season and what you would anticipate on a cool season, what would be your basic? What would you hang your hat on?
Okay.
Ryan,
Here's what I'd hang my.
Kind of started to chop there. You might have to restate it once more.
Oh boy. Okay.
I'm
saying.
You're still chopping, but I think Ray heard.
Okay.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Here's what I would do. I would literally bank my entire program on Yara 16, 15, 15. And after that, weeds, tough shit. Nematodes, tough shit. Insects, tough shit. Because there's literally no way in the world I can manage a high quality warm season lawn for anything less than $10 per 1,000 square foot per month.
Damn.
It just doesn't happen.
Nate just got hard.
Damn. Yeah. My keyboard
And he
let
does
go
it
of
in
it. My
3 applications a year.
bad.
Bills for 7.
So, Ray,
And
you deal with
and it's I deal
nematodes
yeah, I
common
deal with nematodes.
because I had problems even in cool season grass. We had some nematode problems. I don't know if
It's extremely common in Hawaii. It's super common. It's like, I'll tell you what
So you
happened.
use like is it Indemnify? Is that one of the nematodes that came out? It was like
Indemnify.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Fluopyran.
Yeah.
Can someone tell the listeners what that costs per acre to treat? Isn't it like 1,800 an acre or something? Was it something stupid? It was
1,800 per
18
acre.
Jesus.
1,800 per acre. But there's a hack for that, in that you can get the same active ingredient in a product called Exteris Stress Guard.
Exteris.
Yes. However, here's where it works out. Nematodes cause a triad of turf decline, infection by Pisium, and infection by Rhizoctonia. So I'm dealing with multiple problems at once. So to get the most bang for my buck and not have to charge, say, $50 my cost per 1,000 square foot, I incorporate Exteris into my treatment program because here's what happens when you apply the annual maximum of Exteris, you are applying the nematicide rate of fluopyram. Okay, when you apply label maximum on Exteris, that's what you're doing. That's equivalent to the full label rate of Indemnify.
So are you proactive treating before, or you wait till you have problems, test, send out samples, and then treat? I mean, that has to be really expensive to do it proactively.
Actually, Nate, understand something. I'm in a region where sod costs $4 a square foot.
Wow.
$2,000 a pallet, baby.
$4 a square foot, and the kind of
And you can't pay
customers
with that
that
in cocaine.
and the
I
kind of
beg to
the kind of
differ,
customers
DeMay. I beg to differ.
the kind of customers that I have, a lot of them remember exactly how much their sod costed. And it's not uncommon for people to tell me that this lawn costed $40,000 to install, or this lawn costed even $10,000 to install, and I can't afford to do it again because I'm on a fixed income.
Aren't we all on a fixed
So-
income though? Like really? Like sort of, kind of, in a way. Like
You
a
live
little
in
bit.
Hawaii. I have no sympathy for your fixed income or your nematode eating yard. Go to hell.
Speaking, anybody get their child tax credit yet? I mean, I got a deposit for our child tax credit. I thought,
There you go.
did you get one?
I think I did. I saw that in the bank today. I thought about having another one, but then I realized that I've already been clipped, so it's not going to happen.
I ran outside and showed it to the repo man and was like, "Ha ha! Go away!"
I'm rich.
Go away!
Yeah.
Go away!
Speaking of expensive costs, real quick, and I think it's worth touching on. Johnny Fescue was talking about the pricing on fescue that he's getting quoted this year, and why seed prices are so high. There have been multiple years of bad weather in seed production, and it has led to. Yeah, it has led to major shortages. And if you think this year is bad, next year is going to be even worse, right? Because we're about to undergo harvest. And next year is where, it's going to be not even comparable to what
I was told
this year.
I'll give you an example. So here there is a supplier that probably sells somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about 100 truckloads a year of seed. So that's
sick.
24,000 tons, right? Or what is that, right? Is that right? No, 2,400 tons. 2,400 tons of seed, and they're telling me on that volume they've got 8,000 pounds of ryegrass left for the rest of the year. It's July 15th. If you don't get that, you ain't getting ryegrass.
Who's planting ryegrass, by the way? Question.
The asshole in Ohio that's got two.
Yeah, I was going to say
Bermuda grass
everybody in
fields
Canada.
I forgot overseeding. Yes, golf course overseeding. My fault. I'm that far removed.
I got two Bermuda grass. Well, 3 Bermuda grass fields here to overseed. So, yeah.
Matt talked about blue muta. Have you tried it? Blue muta.
It's not my
we've
thing. I just read
experimented.
about it.
I think it can be done. That's an after show topic. We can dive into that a little bit deeper. I think there's merit to it. I think it's got a lot of potential to do a lot of good for many people. I think implementing it is very, very difficult, and I think that the physical act of seeding bluegrass into Bermuda grass and then calling it Blue Muta is kind of stupid. I think that you really need to quantify how much bluegrass needs to be in there relative to how much, to be a successful stand. So, yeah. Matt, what else have we missed? We're coming up to sort of the quasi end here, but and Nate,
I think that's it. Nate, you got any final questions here before we wrap this up?
Well,
and we move on to the show after the show?
Yeah, the allelopathic tendencies of fine fescue, something that you kind of introduced me to. I didn't know much about that, and we never talked about it in college. But is there a way to engineer grass to be like that, like fine fescue, like a better grass than fine fescue? Obviously, I don't know if you guys ever touched on this subject.
I don't understand what you're saying. Engineer grass to be more allelopathic?
Well, yeah, like fine fescue.
Way more allelopathic, as in such that it can do its own weed control without you having to apply any kind of pre or post emergent where it becomes so toxic.
Yes,
good question.
It's a hypothetical, I guess, because around here, I don't know if they sell a seed called the Penn State mix, and can you guys guess what the Penn State mix is of seeds? Take a stab at it.
And perennial ryegrass and Poa triv.
No Poa triv. Well, Poa, just the other Poa.
Poa A.
Bluegrass. Oh, but anyway. So it's bluegrass, ryegrass, and fine fescue. But I treat lawns that were seeded with that mix, and they're all fine fescue. The fine fescue basically took over. So I'm just curious if that could be engineered into a grass where it can be basically, it doesn't like anything grow beside itself. So any thoughts on that?
I think the fine fescue yeah. I'll tell you what might have happened actually. The fine fescue is what survived under conditions of acidic soil and low nutrient levels, because I kind of understand things like ryegrass and even Kentucky bluegrass as being real nitrogen hogs. So if somebody were to seed in a fine fescue, KBG, and rye mix and not be pouring down the nitrogen, what becomes dominant in the end is the grass that survives on low inputs. Keep that in mind, because I leverage that as well when dealing with warm season turf, in that if I want to encourage a grass other than Bermuda, guess what I do? I chop my fertilizer rates. Yes. I cut it.
Yeah. Starve it.
So that's the thing, is that fine fescue literally is the original. All grasses are like this to an extent. Bermuda is at the top of the pyramid, right, where it's super high maintenance, bent to right where it's going to need comparatively more care and things like that. But fine fescue is the OG low input poverty grass, right? It doesn't need much to survive, right? It favors acidic soil. It favors low fertility. It doesn't need a whole lot of herbicide treatments because of what Nate just recommended and said, that it's got such a high level of allelopathy that, there's not a whole lot out there.
Don't want to grow in it.
So the allelopathic compound in fine fescue is L-M-tyrosine. All right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the thing that I would be looking at, Nate, is I'll tell you who's doing the absolute cutting edge work on this right now is University of Minnesota up in St. Paul, and the stuff that they're finding up there in really truly harsh conditions as compared to what we see here, from Pittsburgh on through the Midwest. Fantastic results in a low input situation. When I say low input, I'm talking like 1.5 pounds or less of N per year and minimal herbicide applications, right? So I think there's an opening there, right, for the I don't want this high maintenance grass, and I don't want this and that, in terms of my lawn, and like what you said about managing expectations. I do think there is an opening there, in a niche in the market to offer people and say, hey, there is something different, right? There is something that we don't have to fertilize as much. We don't have to spray as much. We do kind of just want to let it do its thing. And even in times of stress, we want to let it do its thing, right? It's easy to say, and anybody who's really been on a golf course will know this, is the feeling of, hey, I really should do something, spray something, blah, 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 whatever you think might need to take place. And you see all these goobers on YouTube saying, oh, spray this, spray that. And on a golf course, and Nate, you can attest to this, the best thing sometimes is doing nothing. Ray, agree? Disagree?
I totally agree. I mean, I am the person where, yes, I spend the money where I have to, but if there's something I can't stand, it's one, wasted work, number two, wasted money. I mean, that's how I can afford expensive products, is I'm not wasting my time or money on useless crap that still costs money but doesn't give me, results. That's how I can afford that jug of Exteris, for example. That's how I can afford the bottle of Lexicon. It's because I'm not wasting my money on things like Miramichi Green products, to just name names. That ain't me.
Jerry Falwell Lawn Care.
Oh.
What? Here's, do you? God, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nate.
No, you're fine.
Well, do you think so? Can you seed tall fescue into fine fescue, or do you think you're gonna have the same kind of? I know it's. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think you can? Can you interseed? Yeah, interseed.
I'll tell you, I don't know.
It might not work.
I would say,
But I don't know the susceptibility of various grasses to LM tyrosine, if that is indeed the singular allelopathic compound in fine fescue. It may not be the other one. It could be a group of different amino acids, or whatever the case may be, individual chemicals that are causing that. And I don't know which of those are allelopathic to which plants.
Oh, being a Penn State guy, those are listening. Do not buy a Penn State mix. Do not put fine fescue in your yard. If you need something, if it's too shady and you need to put shade mix in there, cut the tree down or put a flower bed in. Grass does not grow well in shade. Oakmont Country Club, the guys that are around here, they cut down every single tree on the golf course because trees and turf do not mix. So,
yeah. What's the best way to prune a tree on a golf course, Nate? With a stump grinder.
Down to the ground.
Absolutely. Well, here's what I think about interseeding tall fescue into fine fescue. What will probably happen is the tall fescue might not like the soil conditions that the fine fescue is thriving in. And again, you go back into low nutrients and acidity. So, because guess what I heard tall fescue is deliberately bred to be adapted to?
What, low input?
More alkaline soil. No, more alkaline soil. More nitrogen, more of a little more of everything, because after all, you want that grass to be green and lush. So, because here's what I'm faced with here. Guess what my low input grasses are here in Hawaii? Centipede and St. Augustine. There's a low input grasses here. And in fact, the less you do to them, the easier time you have maintaining that turf. And I even run into cases where somebody is complaining about their zoysia being contaminated by Bermuda. And do you know what's causing that? They're over-fertilizing and over-watering.
No lie, when you speak about warm season grasses, I am lost. I am completely lost. I know.
Oh.
Tenacity, Pilex, that's how I get rid of them. That's where my knowledge.
Well,
And Roundup.
Well, here-
Sorry, in the summer,
Well,
not while it's dormant.
Nate, one of the things I'm known for is removing one warm season grass out of the other selectively. That's actually what I'm known for in Hawaii.
That's the burn and return.
I'm one of the guys that do it, because the easy button answer is the bottle of Roundup and then that $4 per square foot sod, and even then you half-ass the kill out, and what you were trying to get rid of comes roaring back from underground rhizomes. It's like, hi, I'm back. Sucker.
This would be akin on the golf course, Nate, to taking your foot off the gas with the Paclo when you're trying to selectively control Poa annua, and then that prize fighter gets up off the ground after an 8 count, and Tyson comes back and punches you in the jaw. That's what happens.
I've turned Poa Triv black with paclobutrazol. Trim it, as we know it, and it still keeps coming back. It just keeps. I really wish you could use trim it in residential lawns, but I guess it's not labeled for residential turf. But no, I agree with that though. And then you have Cutlass. Is Cutlass labeled for residential by chance?
Yes, it is.
Cutlass is okay.
But Cutlass is something that I actually use quite a bit. Cutlass is something I use quite a bit because when I'm maintaining turf at a half an inch or lower, Cutlass is the difference between mowing twice a month and twice a week.
I agree.
No, in other words, some people know this as the STFU mix.
Also on the menu of products, he's got it as a SKU in QuickBooks. You just got to subscribe to that. I mean, you just got to get on board.
Because, but the thing is about Cutlass is that Cutlass is several orders less suppressive than paclobutrazol in terms of what it does to turf grass, because I can use Cutlass on warm season grasses that are mowed low without stunting them down to the stubs. But if I were to do the same thing with Paclo, no, I might even kill the lawn. So Paclo and Cutlass are two different products entirely.
It's kind of the same thing in cool season. You can, and Nate would attest to this, especially when you're not trying to do Poa annua control inside of a lawn or a turf area that's got Kentucky bluegrass as a desirable species, right? Because that can get very tricky and very selective based on just cultivar alone. But for Primadol is much more forgiving. Cutlass, much more forgiving. Also more expensive too. But I'll tell you what, like, you take Paclo, and if you have turf that can handle it, right? Like desirable turf that can handle it, you can absolutely decimate. And I don't mean like to the point that you can kill it off, but the whole point is to continue to weaken those Poa annua plants to the extent that if you have Kentucky bluegrass or you have creeping bentgrass in the case of golf course,
bentgrass,
to favor that grass, right, to fill in those voids. And that's really the name of the game. I mean, anytime this is a question that comes up like every day. I get hit up with this, and I'm sure Nate, you do too, and this is what I always tell folks, is anytime that you're asking chemistry to take a grass out of another grass, if you have anything better than a crapshoot, you have some really expensive chemistry. and that's just the way it is because it's tough, unless we're talking about like C3 out of C4, easy stuff like that. I'm talking more so of, the same type, very, very close species out of one another. That it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult. And you shouldn't feel like a failure either. Like people see Poa annua in their lawn and they're just like, oh my God, like what happened? Where do we go here? And Nate, you can attest to this, man. It is everywhere. It's on the moon, probably. We just don't know it.
But yeah, I actually want to dive. I know you guys are on the show here soon, or it's close to wrapping up time. But when people say like Poa, they say Poa annua is an annual. Just put a pre-emergent down. In cool season turf, it is not an annual grass.
Up north. Up north.
Well, up north. Okay. Well, I don't know where you define north at.
Canada.
But it is. No,
not even in Canada. Not even in Canada.
There are biotypes that are perennial grasses. I mean, they don't die off every season, especially north of the Mason-Dixon.
Penn State developed, their own cultivar of literally cultivated seeded Poa annua that you can get. There was you probably don't even know this. Maybe you do, Nate. There used to be. Do you ever hear of D.M. Boyd? You ever heard of that, Colin?
Boyd? Yeah. I used to buy sand from them for Top Dress. Yeah, out of Ohio, Chardon.
The Chardon, but before that, they were in West Middlesex, Pennsylvania, just across the Ohio line. They had a greens nursery there. They would buy aerification plugs from Oakmont, and they had Oakmont sod that they would ship all over the East Coast, if you can believe that, back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
I think there's a grower up north that has Poa ready for Oakmont if they need it. It's Poa that's ready for Oakmont if they need sod.
It could be. It could be DM Wood.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting too so the whole point there that folks, I think that Nate's trying to make, and I agree, is that so what we call that if we were going to classify that is Poa annua variety reptans, reptans, which means it is a perennial type of Poa annua. And Nate, you're exactly right. Like there are very, very few annual types that we see out there now that just want to check out, summertime. These are prize fighters, right? They have adapted to the climate and now come back year after year after year. The only thing I see crapping out now, generally speaking, is really Poa triv, right? Hell yeah. Yeah, see, somebody knew that Poa triv is a bastard. I would rather manage Poa annua than see Poa triv. How's that? That's the God truth.
I said it's easier to keep Poa greens alive than it is to selectively kill Poa in a home lawn. I mean,
and Poa triv is just the absolute pits. There's nothing good you can do with that grass. Nothing good you can do with that grass.
100%.
All right, so real quick, before Matt gets to read the copy from our new, maybe soon to be future, the cat just knocked over all the beer cans. Gosh. All right. Anyhow, yes, that's correct. I do want to say first, thank you, Nate. This has been super fun. Now, the other thing I want to make everybody aware of, including Nate, because he should come, because he's got just a short drive down here. You have to become You have to become a member to learn more about this. There is an opportunity to see us live and in person. I can't tell you where. I can't tell you when. You have to become a member to learn more about this cool very soon upcoming opportunity to see us live. Ray is going to be beamed in via satellite from Hawaii. We've already started working. What are you going to get him an ISDN line, a DSL? What are you going to work out for him? We're gonna move past the 56K modem, I think.
We're gonna have dual coconuts. That's what it's gonna be. 2 coconuts.
He's got AOL dial-up right now, and every time he signs on to come on to the show, it says, "You've got mail," right? What is that?
Right.
What is
We're
that?
not talking about that right now.
You
We're not talking about that right now.
Yeah, you You got to talk about that later. Become a member, please. So if you have a chance to slide down here, become a member, right, and learn about how you can meet us live. See Ray in actual HD instead of the coconut quality that he currently is, because, God bless Hawaii internet. Now, I will stop talking. I will thank Nate, and then I would like the Grass Factor to tell me about can you tell me what is Hone Health?
Yeah. So first off, I took a blood test this is the other week, and all right. So I have been undergoing this personal journey of trying to lose a significant amount of weight because I had a couple of aneurysms in my eye, and I thought I was going to lose my vision. And an aneurysm in your eye is not really a good thing. Anyway, big announcement coming up on Saturday, but I'll kind of tell you the prelude to this. I went ahead and I decided to go ahead and do the Hone Health thing, take a blood test, and see what would end up happening. I fully expected, as hairy as I am, now active as I am, I was going to have testosterone levels off the chart, right? I was like, it's definitely not something, and I was kind of approaching it with a badge of honor, like, I don't need this shit. I take my test, and I have the testosterone levels of a 65-year-old man. No lie. Free test.
You are Betty. You're Betty White.
Total test. Yeah, I'm growing organs of the opposite sex, and I'm just absolutely floored. They did a full blood test. They even looked at my liver levels to see how that was affecting my testosterone levels. And then on next Thursday, I get to meet and sit down with a real doctor to go over options for why I am having some of these things that I'm having, right? Why am I experiencing the greater amount of fatigue, the injuries that seem to never heal, and hopefully do something about it. So I'm super stoked about this. I hope you check it out. It helps support the channel, and it helps support the guys that are on here with me. So go to honehealth.com/the grass factor for $45. For $45, you get some answers about maybe an opportunity for you to feel significantly better in your life. Because in my opinion, really at the end of the day, what it's all about, yes, we talk about grass, yes, we have a good time, but really what it's all about is being the absolute best men that we can be. And that's exactly what Hone Health is going to give us the opportunity to do. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Nasty Nate, thank you for being on. Ryan DeMay, Ray Ito. We're moving on to the show. After the show, if you want to join us there, you got to hit the join button and head over to Dirty Deeds, where there's going to be a link for 10 minutes and 10 minutes alone, and then it's deleted into the environment and just gone forever. It is a 16% iron application sprayed through EDTA chelated iron, and it's just going to disappear into the world. So check it out, and we'll be over there. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side.